Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carolyn with Midwest Manufacturers, and today we are very fortunate to have some folks from Minnesota Pollution Control Agency here to talk with you about understanding PFAS in product reporting. And so, what I'll do now is turn that over to these guys, and we'll let them share with you their expertise, and they will explain to you kind of how the webinar works with asking questions and things. So, here you go, guys. It's all turned over to you.
Thanks, Caroline. And thank you to the Midwest Manufacturers Association and their affiliates for kind of hosting this and joining us today. We'll do quick introductions from our team at the MPCA and kind of get into the presentation. I'm Andrea Kermonsky. I'm the lead implementation or the team lead for the implementation of Amara's Law, the MPCA. I will pass it to Regina.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I am Regina Small. I'm the supervisor for the Safer and Sustainable Products Unit here at MPCA, and we oversee the PFAS reporting as well as other product-related projects around the agency. Adam?
Thanks, Regina. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this afternoon. My name is Adam Olson. I work in the Communications and Outreach section at the MPCA, and I focus on PFAS issues, including the implementation of Mars Law. Back to you, Andrea.
Thank you. And I think today we'll have kind of a brief presentation, and then we'll open things up for Q&A. But I would like everyone to know, feel free to use the raise hand function in Zoom, or if you have a question, you want to type it out in the chat. I'll try to monitor that as we go as well. So we'll get started here. We're going to be presenting on the PFAS reporting information system for manufacturers, or PRISM as we'll call it for short. And we'll just kind of start with a little bit of kind of the basics for the kind of the laws that are kind of overseeing and responsible for different PFAS prohibitions and products in Minnesota. We have two laws that went into effect kind of in 2020 and in 2024 that were kind of covering the removal of PFAS from firefighting foams and food packaging. And then we have a separate law that's known as Amara's Law here that kind of oversees the prohibition of PFAS in pretty much any other product that will be sold in the state of Minnesota. It has kind of three main phases to the law. The first one being this 2025 product prohibition for 11 different product categories. That one, took effect in January 1 of 2025. These categories were products that had a lot of already available PFAS-free versions out there. So these were why they were picked kind of for the early prohibition. And then moving into the second phase of the law, we have this reporting requirement for products that contain intentionally added PFAS. These are due September 15th of this year, less than a month away now. And then we have a kind of total prohibition of PFAS in products coming up in 2032, unless they have been determined to be, the PFAS in the products have been determined to be a currently unavoidable use. This part of the law is still in the rule writing process, so there'll be more to come on that out of the agency in the near future. But today we're going to focus on this reporting requirement that we have as part of the Amara's Law. So key dates that we always like to throw out there, reminder, folks, we just passed a due date for folks that were requesting extensions, a 90-day extension to that reporting date. Coming up in less than a month, like I said, September 15th, all these initial reports are due into the system. And then if folks have received an approval on their extension request forms that they submitted. Their initial due date for initial reports will be December 14th of this year. Following these initial due dates for the reporting, there will be an annual requirement per the rule for reporting that says if there's been any significant change in your report since the previous reporting time, you will need to submit an update as required. Things like that require updates would be something like a new product that was released within that last year, a significant change in chemicals used, or potentially if your supply chain provides additional information that wasn't provided earlier. Kind of the overarching what needs to be reported. Products that contain intentionally added PFAS that are sold in Minnesota, offered for sale in Minnesota, distributed in Minnesota, and that were manufactured after July 1st of 2023. We always like to point out that this also includes online sales. And there are a few exemptions for products, typically where federal law controls the PFAS presence in the product and preempts a state authority, or potentially things that are falling under classified information. So kind of reporting 101, we're looking for 4 main kind of elements in the report. We are looking for a brief description of the product and its components that contain PFAS. We are looking for what types of PFAS chemicals are being used. We are looking for the concentration range of those chemicals being used in the product. And we are looking for the function that that PFAS chemical is providing that product. Kind of helps us get a bigger picture of what chemicals really are being used and what's that purpose of them. Oh yes, I can got a question on what intentionally added means. So and I don't have the definition exactly on me, but it's when the chemical is added to the product where the presence of that chemical is meant to be there at the finished project and is still providing a function to it. So we have a lot of common questions we get on if there's just a processing aid used in the manufacturing, is that considered intentionally added? A lot of times we see things like, there's a lubricant in the machinery that maybe have, thank you, Regina, for putting that in the chat. If there's like a lubricant that's used in the machinery and some, contamination happens on the product, we don't consider that intentionally added. I think another common question we get for things is like a release agent kind of used on it. It's not being intentionally added to that product to serve a function in it when it's manufactured and completed, but it's used kind of usually to mold or pop up a mold or something. That would not be considered intentionally added. And I'll note too, we've gotten a lot of questions on recycled materials as well. If there's materials we're using that may have a small amount of contamination in them from prior use, we don't consider any PFAS contamination from a recycled material to be intentionally added as well. Another question: if it's intentionally by the supplier of the component we purchase, how would it apply? So if you are getting a component that you're putting into another product or assembly that you are then making, you would still need to report the product that you are assembling or making with that component. So you'd have to kind of reach out to your supplier to understand, if it's being used as like a coating or if it's just like a gasket material or something. You'd have to work with them to kind of figure out the functionality and why that was being added into the component you're using. Very good question. Thank you. So just kind of an example of what this looks like in practice. The PRISM system is kind of a big glorified, I will say, spreadsheet where you're doing a lot of row by row data entry. Some of these fields are open text, some are drop down, depending on which one. And we also provide a Excel template that you can download and populate if you don't want to be on the web-based browser. And kind of work offline while you're compiling data. But this is kind of generically what it will look like. And I'll show a few other screenshots today too of what the system looks like as well. And we have a lot of resources out there right now that folks can kind of go to for kind of specific instructions or guidance that they may be needing. We have a reporting guide to PRISM. This is more the basic how to create an account, how to start a report, how to submit it, what payments look like, that kind of step-by-step instructions. We've also provided a supplemental guide to the PRISM system. This is where we talk a lot more about kind of reporting scenarios and questions that we've gotten from folks over time to help them kind of guide their way through their reporting while they're kind of working on the reports. We also have kind of put together some how-to videos as well. If you're more of a visual learner and you like to see kind of the step-by-step clicking on the screen, we have these how-to videos. We have almost all of the ones we intend to post up. I think we have maybe one going up hopefully this week, and then maybe one or two others that we'll be posting. So that library is almost complete out there for folks to use and utilize. And then we always like to point folks to the actual written rule as well to kind of look at the statute for kind of the finer nitty-gritties of the reporting requirements. And the last thing we also have out there for folks is we do have a frequently asked question section on our broader PFAS in products reporting webpage through the MPCA's website. A lot of these questions are kind of the, before you even get to the PRISM system, maybe, is this applicable to me? What are the fee amounts? What are, exempt products, things like that. So we will, oh, thank you. My team is throwing in links into the chat as well. We'll send out a copy of these slides as well that have these hyperlinks in them for you to reference. And as Adam has pointed out, all these resources are linked off of our main page as well. So if you aren't still finding what you need in all of our resources, we also have a couple different places you can reach out to. We have a technical kind of administrative support staffer who kind of helps us with technical errors, technical support in the PRISM system itself. This is things like if you're getting an error message when you're trying to register or having login issues, password resets. We ask folks to email this PRISM at the ic2.org email. And then if you're looking more for specific program applicability or additional requests for chemicals or chemical functions that aren't yet in our system, or applicability of your product, feel free to reach out to me and my team. We have this specific PFAS reporting email inbox too that we our whole team is monitoring to kind of help folks out. So let's see. So I'll talk a little bit about company setup. I know this has been an area where we get a lot of questions, especially with all the varieties of parent companies and their underlying kind of brands, subsidiaries, business units, locations, all these different configurations of legal entities. So there is some flexibility on how a company may want to create an account in the PRISM system. If you have multiple legal entities under a parent company, it's between that parent company and those kind of underlying entities to decide if they want to either report all under a parent company, which is allowable, or if they all want to report separately. That's really up to these companies to decide what's the easiest. Some may say, well, okay, we have our healthcare business over here and our other our musical instruments or furniture over here, all these different portfolios. It's easier for us to keep them separate because it's different staff overseeing it. That's absolutely fine if they want to create separate accounts in PRISM, or likewise, if they just want to do one very large report under a parent company, that's also allowable as well. So options there. Again, feel free to email us with any questions on that. That's probably one of our top questions we get, is kind of how they should set up their account. And I should say too, under a company can have multiple users as well to work on the reports. We also have some ability in the system to report on behalf of another company. So if an organization, trade association, or maybe like a consultant is being utilized to help submit reports, we do have a way to set up in the reporting system a report on behalf of another company. So kind of what happens is, this trade association or consultant group organization, they would create their own account. Any company that they are going to report on would need to create a company account for them. But then there's a way to kind of go in the system. I think slide and request to either report on behalf of or to put in an approval for a different account to report on behalf of you. So that's kind of another option we've built in, depending on the groups out there that may be working together to compile kind of similar information, or if they have consultants helping out kind of doing the submittals for them. We have the options to get that set up as well. This is kind of an option we were asked for during the rule writing. Sometimes, again, if there's a lot of repetitive data that a lot of folks are using, sometimes it can kind of help to have someone aggregating it and tailoring a report, or just to kind of help companies out kind of with that one. We understand there's a lot of different large and small companies out there, and it may look a little different on kind of who at the company might be responsible for doing this reporting and data collection. So we just wanted to make sure we have some flexibility there and some options for folks. We also have a function that's kind of built into the system called the cloning feature. This is can be used in a couple of different ways to make reporting a little bit easier and to save some time. We had some folks kind of asking if their trade association could potentially pool together a lot of their supplier data, since they had a lot of overlapping components or products that they may have been using in a larger assembly. Someone could potentially put together a large kind of complete long list of things and then tailor it down for each company. Or additionally, this kind of cloning option is great for if you have to do any annual updates as well. You can start with the last submitted report, edit it as where you need, and then resubmit it to save time. Um, oh, and I do have a note here. We want people to know too, if you are going the route of having a consultant or maybe an association submit reports on behalf of other companies, it is that person that's submitting the report that has to pay the fees in the system. Any reimbursement of those would have to be done outside of the PRISM system. So here's kind of just a screenshot of what this looks like. If you have either in our draft submitted or published reports, either option, if you want to start with an older report, you can save a copy and it'll pretty much reopen it. You can rename it, edit it, resubmit it, kind of nice time saver for any additional reports you may have to add in the future or updates. All right, so the next thing I'll kind of talk about is kind of some topics where we get a lot of questions also on where we have manufacturers that are making highly customizable products. We've talked with a lot of folks that either it's kind of all up to the customer what they're making, and it may be kind of a larger complex product, or it may be a simpler one, but no two valve assemblies, piping apparatus, whatever they have going on are necessarily the exact same. So we wanted to give a little bit of guidance for that as well. There's a few options to consider when you're thinking about these highly customizable products. We always want to remind folks that only components of these products that contain PFAS need to be reported. If a customizable component within that larger assembly does not contain PFAS, it doesn't need to be included in the report and can kind of be ignored if you're going to group similar products together. And if the product has customizable options, sometimes we recommend folks kind of report all of those options under kind of the base overlying product, even if it maybe doesn't always have all those options when it's sold. So I will go over kind of two versions of that examples. We have kind of our fishing boat manufacturer offers customizable boats for their customers. Often they're never like the exact same boat, depending on what the customer kind of wants and the features they're offering. So we have recommended that manufacturer could list any customizable options under like the base boat. So if they start off with like the main craft of the boat, and then the customer is picking any of the different coatings, accessories, covers, seats, that kind of thing. Anything that's those PFAS containing options, just list under that kind of base boat configuration or boat base. So it's just anything that could be available to the customer to pick from, they would be able to see that on the report. Kind of in a similar vein, if you are making, say, kind of like a base model of something like a car, we've recommended, if this is your 2026 car model XYZ, this one could have the sports one or the luxury version, or there's, certain customizations that customers can make when they're ordering the car. Again, you can kind of group it under a similar model and report all those kind of customizable options with under the actual product name. So we understand too when some of the manufacturers of these larger, more complex products are putting this data together, it will be a significant amount of lines of data. So we do also allow some flexibility in the system that you can submit multiple reports for the same submission year. Instead of, say, doing all 25 models of the car you make, you could submit a report that's, per model. and just submit a couple of different reports. The only thing we wanted to note at this option is that the system it has the logic in that a company should only get invoice for fees once when submitting reports. So if you are going to take this option of taking or submitting multiple reports for the same year, please submit one early on, allow that payment to process, and make sure it says it's marked complete in the Prism system. And then you can submit the other ones at any pace you like, and it will not ping you for a payment at the end of it. So this is kind of a screenshot. I kind of set up a mock account of what this could look like if you're doing different models or just multiple reports for the same year. They'll kind of show up all in your account and kind of submit them from there. All right. One of our other really common questions we get for reporting is what happens if I don't have 100% of the information I'm required to report right now, especially with kind of the due dates coming up, kind of rapidly approaching here for some. We do provide some guidance in our supplemental guidance document on what to do when we have unknown data elements for things, including the PFAS chemical name, the concentration of the chemical, and the chemical function. Each of those are kind of spelled out in that supplemental guide as kind of, okay, you can select a present but unknown at this time, or, a function unknown at this time. I believe chemical concentration also has a PFAS present but concentration unknown. We built in a few of these options knowing that especially this first year of initial reporting, there are going to be some data gaps as people are kind of working through complex supply chains and trying to get back from, vendors and everything to gather this information. So we want folks to know that those options are out there, but with those options also still comes the expectation of our due diligence standard that's put forth in our rule. We do expect people to continue to reach out and try to fill those data gaps they may have from their initial reports, and provide that new information as it becomes available every February 1st the following year. Let's see, got a question here. We manufacture custom design products, some of which contain PFAS, some do not. Would we need to report thousands of top level part numbers or only the specific PFAS components? Only the specific PFAS components that it might be included in it. Yep. So if you have a large assembly, it will be kind of like the name of that kind of overarching product, and then they'll be in the different component lines, just components that contain PFAS in it. Let's see. There we go. Oh, and I think I just touched on due diligence a little bit, but we also like to put out the reminder to folks, maintain documentation of your efforts to kind of reach out to suppliers on this information. This is something, our staff may review if we're trying to evaluate compliance with the rule and making sure people are kind of meeting their requirement for continual gathering for that information. And we also like to point out as well that getting this complete information from the supply chain on these products is going to help support future regulatory processes, potentially including our currently unavoidable use determinations. As I mentioned, we have regulation being worked on right now, or rule for how we will make determinations on whether these PFAS using these components are a currently unavoidable use and don't have a better alternative available for the functions and things they are providing. So having this information will definitely help folks down the road when we get to that phase of Amara's law. That's kind of the larger points that we are presenting on today. We also want to recommend to folks that you stay signed up for updates. We do have a emailing list where we've been sending out updates about upcoming due dates. We've been sending out a series of tips of the week on things for reporting as we've gotten kind of these commonly asked questions. Pardon me, reminders and other kind of notifications, like if we put up a new how-to video or make an update to a guidance document. And I see Regina put the link in the chat for that. The page is quite full of information, but if you scroll down until you see this little stay connected box, you can add your email in here and stay up to date as well. So with that, I'll open it up to any other questions. And like I said, feel free to throw them in the chat or raise a virtual hand and I will get to you. Okay, can we use a general product name and then list the PFAS components under it? Or do you need a specific product model? There's a little bit, again, I feel like I'm saying it a lot, but there is a little flexibility allowed in how you report these things. So the rule for reporting also allows for a certain amount of, we call it grouping of products. So if you have maybe a product line or product kind of family that has a lot of similar, it's kind of the same components, same chemicals being used, but maybe they only differ in kind of superficial things like size or shape or things like that. You can kind of put them together. So say you have a line of, let's say, desktop fans, and some of them have different colors. Some maybe are on a stand versus more like a tabletop. But if it's all, again, the components are all the same chemicals, concentration of those chemicals and things, there's allowable grouping. When you're putting in a product code, we allow for things like UPC, SKU, HTS code, kind of depending on how grouped you're making that product. So a little bit up to you guys to kind of determine what might make the most sense to do that. So this is one of the scenarios we have in our supplemental guidance document. A couple different examples like that if you want to look at it, and we try to kind of put a little example data entry lines of kind of how that would look. So we don't add any PFAS in our product, but use components such as a motor or wires that have them. What's your reporting responsibility? So both folks, so the folks that would make the motors or wires, they would have a responsibility to report that as a product that they're selling. Business to business transactions are included in the scope of reporting. So if they would be reporting like motor wires, and then you're putting it into another larger assembly and selling a different product as it is, you would also have to report that. So it would look different. So your product may have that, and then anything else PFAS containing that you add, the supplier of that motor would just be reporting on the motor. I'll let you guys kind of think a little bit too and give you some pondering time. But let's see, did I put our
was going to say, out of curiosity, have folks
Mm.
at least signed up for their account in Prism and kind of poked around in there yet? I'm just curious.
And I'm going to throw our direct support email in here too. I know I mentioned it in another slide, but always nice to kind of throw that in here again. PFAS reporting. This is, like I said, this is my team's email. We're here to answer any questions you have, big or small. Okay, another question. Minnesota defines PFAS as a fluorinated organic chemical containing at least one fully fluorinated carbon atom. There are products on the market that are defined as PFAS-free, but still contain fluorinated organic chemicals containing at least one fully fluorinated carbon atom. Thoughts? Yes, we do have one of the kind of wider definitions of PFAS. We always refer people back to the definition that our statute put forward. That's what the MPCA has to go on. So I know if you're looking at different definitions like EPA has, it does vary a little bit. So you really need to look at Minnesota State's definition of those chemicals when you are making your determinations of if it's applicable to report or not. We get a lot of questions on different chemicals as well. So if you're ever not certain, let us know and our team will review it and get back to you if it's in scope. Yeah, it is a bit of a challenging one. So again, we're here if there needs to be any clarification. We can help let you know if it's in scope with the statute.
Any other questions? We'll give it about another minute here and see if anything comes to mind, or if you have something you're working on, just let us know. Otherwise, we can leave you again with all the contact information and the ability and the welcome to reach out to Andrea, myself, or any. I think we had our email inbox in there too.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, everyone, thank you for joining us. And I will be sending the recording of this webinar out to all that registered, and we will also upload it on our YouTube page. So please go ahead and share and let us know here at MMA if you have any questions or comments. And otherwise, I think we are all set. Thanks for your time, guys.
Yeah, thank you
guys.
all. And yep, we'll get in touch, Caroline, and we can send you a copy of the slides as well to send out.
Perfect.
So.
That'd be great. I'll include that in with the recording or with the yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
good.
Have a
All
great
right.
day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.